stage? Can they do it again here where Bleed are clearly performing at an exceptional level, undefeated, not really dropping a whole lot of rounds? Elevate, you can say the same, are doing very similar, but I still feel like you've got to go and now do it against Bleed before we can really take you seriously. I'm fine putting them second. They're second in my power ranking because there's really no one else, but, you know, it's a whole different story when you're going up against Bleed.
And Jake having you second in his power rankings, that's important, isn't it, mate? It's
very important.
You know where we're at. But Dev, look, again, I think Xenox has kind of topped that off perfectly. This roster is on the rise. They're constantly improving. Is it enough in a game like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I'm kind of on the cope. I just really like the Elevate storyline. I think they're looking better than any Elevate we've ever seen since this new revamped roster formed, since back when they had the old Thai roster. I think they're looking in peak form right now. It's taken them a little bit of time to really get the most out of the roster changes, bringing on Shed MC and to some degree NHykel, but I am absolutely loving it. Like you said, they did manage to beat Bleed in stage 1, but every single other time these guys have played each other, it has been a Bleed win, so there is a lot going for Bleed. I just want to see a close competitive match, and I want to see Elevate be a serious contender, because a rising tide raises all boats, and that's the reason why I want to see Elevate do well. It's the reason I want to see NoCap and Direwolves do well. It's the reason why I'm disappointed that Fury haven't been doing well, because Bleed can only be pushed if they have the fire burning underneath them.
Speaking of Bleed, the roster that is unquestionably at the top of the league right now. Again, plus 27 round differential. You can talk about the forfeit all you want, but they are looking clinical in a lot of these matches. And no more than this match tonight, Xenox, do they need to once again showcase why they are the best in Asia and why they continue to go to international events again and again and again.
I don't think so. You know, we kind of spoke about it a little bit with Elevate. The fact that Elevate beat them last stage, right, kind of says that that one loss in the regular portion of the season doesn't end up being the be and all, and it just so happened as well that game, of course, was played A6 as well. So same time, same place. Will it be the same result? And even if it is, Rob, to kind of then answer your question again, no, not really, because playoffs is where it's really going to matter. The biggest difference, though, I think for me, as we get Hoven and NHykel, though, is that it was Fury that took down Elevate in the playoffs last stage. Well, that's not going to be as likely this stage. Now, it's far more likely statistically these two are going to meet in the grand final, because they're going to be either 1 or 2, right? There's no one else that can get into the top 2, which means if they are to play in the grand final, it's you know, something we haven't really seen before, best of 3 of these two teams. Hoven has been great. We know that. I think every time I cast Bleed, I talk about the fact they're just such a team-orientated roster that it's not down to just one player, but Hoven statistically over the last 12 months has just turned it on. I think when we originally saw Hoven years ago, he wasn't known as this like superstar fragger. Reap's got a lot of the plaudits, at times even Turd, but statistically he has just not really done anything wrong. And even when you look at the stats of NHykel, gets smashed in cost, smashed in entry, and the KD's nowhere near touching Hoven. The only thing saving him is apparently the EPS, but I mean, you kind of look at the other 3 categories, Robin, they're not that close, even though NHykel has been great this stage.
Yeah, and that's it, right? NHykel coming off the back of a debut stage at this level. So stage 1 was his first time we have seen him. We hadn't heard of him before. I think he has done a phenomenal job coming into this, but touching Hoven is not an easy task, I'll tell you that much. He's up in the heavens at the moment, but it is time for us to start to break this map down, Dev. And I go to you here because I know your stats are broken, but you've still got something up your sleeve.
Yeah, fun fact, my stats are actually no longer broken, so there we go, I got them. Yeah, I like the Labs ban here from Elevate. It's Bleed's best map. I definitely would be getting rid of that one. Cafe is Elevate's best map, and Bleed are going to get rid of that. We end up going to Clubhouse. Everyone loves Clubhouse. Like, this is like the now that Oregon's gone, like, this is the Rainbow Six Siege map. We've already seen these teams, both of them play it. Elevate beat Rival here in their first play day, and Bleed beat not only Fury but also Direwolves here. This is potentially one of Bleed's best maps as well. Even though it's mid-pack in terms of their preference, their performances on this map really tell you a lot. And yeah, I think this is going to be a fantastic place to see these two teams clash. So much fundamentals about how you clear power positions, how you do rafters. Are you going to use the shields? Are you going to ban the shields? How are you with hard breach? How are you with map clearing? Clubhouse has it all, and that's why we love it.
Xenox, still just a little bit, yeah. Like, not Simpsons level, but still, there's still just a little bit to it. There's a little...
Well, I didn't change any of the saturation. I just changed the brightness.
Disappointing. I was hoping to come back and see your face like the moon. It is time for us to get underway with the game of the stage. At least that's what we're calling it, because it is one, it is two. They play each other at the top of the ladder, and this will determine who goes first, at least for the end of Playday 6. We're heading into playoffs. Form is important, but no more so than for Bleed, who are looking very good. Can Elevate stand the test of what a giant really is? We'll have to wait and see.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, this is the game of the stage for sure. It's 1 versus 2. Elevate got the better of Bleed for the very first time in Stage 1 in that BO1. We haven't actually seen these two teams meet since then. They didn't meet in the playoffs. They didn't meet in the EWC qualifiers either. So this match really does feel like a long time coming, Xenox. Did you go for Bleed for this one?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're pretty convinced that the Elevate's a little bit overhyped, are you?
No, that I don't know how you've managed to put that word in my mouth, but anyway, I don't think they're overhyped. I don't know who's overhyping them, or who's saying they're overhyped.
I think they're good. I think they are capable of winning this match. I think it's pretty neck and neck. But are you saying that they're not neck and neck?
No, I never said that. I just went for Bleed. That was just my prediction.
Okay. Do you want to? Yeah. Okay. So what do you think about Bleed?
Do you need me to? If you need me to explain why I picked Bleed in this matchup, James, we need to have a different conversation altogether.
Okay.
In fact,
conversation would you like to have? James?
Reverse it and have the conversation as to why you've gone for Elevate. That's a better conversation to have.
Sure. Yeah, I think Elevate are a really solid team. I think Bleed have really improved themselves since Stage 1, but I think Elevate have improved themselves more. I think this game is totally 50-50, and Bleed on paper are the favorites, but I'm hopeful that Elevate can do what they did in Stage 1 and beat Bleed again.
Yeah. I mean, I think they certainly can beat them again, and I think, Rob actually posed the best question that we had in the pre-show, which was, whether or not the result would matter. I don't think it would, in this instance. I don't think if Elevate were to win this 7-5, that we'd come away from this suddenly changing our tone then going into the playoffs, right? So the biggest difference for me is that in the past, historically, Elevate's the kind of team that would drop games to like a Fury, maybe even a no-cap or something, right? They'd drop these other matches, but then they'd somehow go and beat Bleed. Well, this season, this stage, they've been able to fix that. They've been able to actually find a lot of consistency, knock out all the other teams. They're 5-0. They've no overtimes. It's completely clean, clinical. Sets them up nicely that if, they do go and beat Bleed, it sets them up the best that we've ever seen for this roster going into a playoff to go to a major. Would they then be able to beat them in a best of 3? I don't know. But what I really hope, when it's all said and done, it's these two in a best of 3 in the grand final. Otherwise, I'll be honestly a little bit disappointed.
The Blitz is not through the ban phase, but the Monty's out, so still a little bit of shield potential available. But both of these teams have said that it's not their favorite way to play. They'll bring it if they need to. The Two-Brow gone, but the Kayid in, so still a little bit of that hard breach minigame going to be present on those hatches. Azami and Grim gone down. Azami, particularly on this bomb site, makes it so much easier to hold on as a defender in the late round, fortifying a lot of positions you'd usually need a deployable shield for. We've got 2 deployable shields. Bleed very much aware. They've prepped for that Azami ban, and they're confident that come the late round, they're going to be very happy to sit behind those positions.
Defender is exposed.
Yeah, I mean, Reeps gets a free kill over towards Blue. I don't know how he's managed that onto Arpe, and the Ram losing its life this early on in the round, not ideal. So through the hatch, MC in towards Stock, and a bit of a strange opening attack right now from Elevate. Yeah, they'll start to head over towards Kitchen Hatch, get it opened up. But not really offering a whole lot of pressure. 90 seconds, haven't done a whole lot. Only just now starting to work some of these hatches, as Mentalist also finds a kill from below. I mean, how often do we really see this? Not that often that, you're just having 5 basement and they find 2 kills just like that through a hatch or through some kind of angle. And this is a little bit poor from Elevate. They've been a little careless.
It's hard enough to execute onto this site in a 5v5, let alone a 3v5, and Bleed know not to overpeak now. The drop comes through. Shed's actually in a great position, but he's taken down. In fact, every single player from Elevate on the entry loses their fight. Run of the mill for Bleed. Easy opening round, flawless.
I mean, that was just a non-contest to start. And honestly, first half Bleed defense, I'm expecting them to at least do well in this opening half. They didn't really actually offer a whole lot up above. It was all that basement kind of play, a little bit over towards Blue, but Mentalist getting that free kill over towards Moto, I mean, that really just shouldn't happen. And at the end of the day, yeah, that was honestly quite poor from Elevate. That was a little bit of a boring round from them. I think that they can certainly play a lot better. They've been so clinical throughout this stage. They don't make a lot of mistakes either, James. I'm not saying they necessarily made mistakes that round, but they certainly weren't their more cleanly self. Skopos in action, though, from Turd. Intriguing site choice as well when, you know, the discussion regarding this operator, you know, yesterday coming in for the first time being allowed, not only in just this region, but in general, was the idea of it being like a basement pick where you kind of use it top floor roam and then you can transfer back to the other shell down safely. We saw some interesting uses of it, but this is something I haven't seen where it's actually used on a top floor site. And, you know, conventionally when you think about gym bedroom, you don't really play the vert, you don't play the roam, you play horizontally. So what's the angle here from Turd?
I'd love to see it. We're yet to see really solid Skopos play, so I'm always going to keep my eye out for it. Of course, if you try and force an operator just for the sake of forcing an operator, then you're probably not doing it for the right reasons. I don't think that Bleed are a team that are going to do that. I think they're going to have a good idea if they're going to bring it. Looks for now is like he's going to be roaming on the opposite side of the map, and then, if needed, he's going to essentially teleport. We like to say teleport. He's going to switch shells, teleport his consciousness, essentially, into the other body so that he can continue playing the round safely and abandon that position. This means he doesn't have to have a fall-off route. For now, though, good progress from Bleed in terms of the hard breach game. Kaid, they're doing a lot of the fundamentals, opening up a lot of these avenues before they start pushing through. It's actually better to open up Con before you start flooding in through Cash. It does allow you to catch any roamers that are falling off. And there's Turd switching back to the shell on site.
He has done so quite early. Not a lot of pressure towards Jacuzzi until just now as they get the main breach opened up. Selma onto the mirror window. Shot out though by Mentalist in towards Jim, which the fact he's even allowed be in that position with the window open, it's just due diligence not done correctly by Elevate to have someone posted up on that balcony to deny the ability of that Selma even being shot.
Yeah, Elevate's trying to do too much at once right now and they're getting punished for it. That means there are gaps in their attack. It allows Bleed to get away with things like shooting off that Selma, which now has the flow-on effect of preventing Elevate from countering the mirror position. Now they're going to go for another Selma, and Ted is able to shoot off himself without getting swung. The last Selma, we need to see a player actually deny him a flash to go through. That's a nice way to confirm that the breach will go off. The mirror has been now nullified.
Yeah, but there's 40 seconds left in the round, James, and still holding the angles. Turd, this is a bit of aggression, and certainly at this point he can stick here, knowing full well they're really trying to push in from Jacuzzi. 30 seconds on the drop through logistic off the Candela from Speakeasy, and it's unsuccessful.
Yeah, well, there was a player in Con, but unable to focus up on either. Gunfight does lead him to losing his life. Now Shed and MC to pick up the pieces in the 2 versus 4. Now Shed does have that diffuser, but look at the positions from Bleed. They're so patient. They're playing this so well, and there's a mirror as well. MC is able to find Mentalists, and a nice big pick from Shed as well. Going deep, though, nearsighted, unable to swing in. Desperate now, spotted by Hoven, unable to find the final 2 kills. They got that crossfire down pat. Another good attack from, another good defense rather, from Bleed. A little bit closer than the first, but still very much within their control from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, how much of the control from Bleed was because of what Bleed were doing versus, you know, what Elevate certainly weren't doing at times, and the struggles that we evidently saw towards Jacuzzi, I think, played a big part in this round. Drop from Speakeasy completely by himself, James. You know, like at this kind of level, it's never going to work against Bleed. Understand? Yeah, you're the Ying. You've thrown the Candela. The hope is that, of course, they're white, but there's also a Warden on the other side, and you know, that alone is a pretty good counter, and let alone the fact that you haven't cleared out Con, you haven't cleared out Logistic, you have not really a whole lot of pressure towards top main. So a solo drop like that from Speakeasy is incredibly ambitious. And then that starts this kind of like chain effect where you lose these kind of entries where they're all individually going in at the same time. 3 die, becomes a 5v2. Shed does a nice job, get a couple back, and it becomes a little spicy towards the end. But you said it best, Bleed were always in control.
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb. 10 seconds to go.
Turd's going for this Skopos again. Wonder what he's planning on doing with it this time. I can't remember which match it was. We saw someone play top red on this side. Looks like he's put it inside cache. The danger of where he's currently got his second shell is if there is someone in con, which is a pretty normal position, then when he switches shell, they can simply kill him as he unshields. So it does mean that he can't actually switch away from his current active shell while his inactive shell is in danger, and that is a weakness.
Well, not necessarily. I think the idea would be the teamwork. Whoever's playing top red, you kind of call that, and that's where the communication's so incredibly important. If he needs to go for that transfer, he needs to make sure that the player top red is holding the angle to the doorway towards con. So it becomes a little bit safer, so that if they do peek that and they are then anticipating him to switch, then the player top red can maybe provide the cover necessary. It's still, though, for me, the animation time and, you know, how much pressure you can get put under over towards Rafters so quickly. It's Capitao as well. Like, you know, you get flamed out, James. You can't just sit there transferring. Although, I mean, I guess maybe
you actually might be able to.
Yeah,
that's the funny thing, right?
Maybe you can, but then at that point, like, the Capitao's done his job anyway, right? So have you really won? Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Well, at least you get out with your life. But yeah, I would love to see that. It is one way that, funnily enough, Skopos can counter Capitao. And I don't believe the Capitao's fire will destroy the inactive shell as well. Of course, he does have to very quickly get into position and hit that transfer button, and it does take a little bit of time to do that. At the moment, he's still aggressively contesting this line of sight. Elevate have made decent progress. They know exactly how they want to push this, but with how aggressively Bleed are playing it, well, yeah, you can't lose fights like that.
That's another thing you can do on the Skopos. I know Die's there, but the idea is that you can be a bit more aggressive on this operator, because let's say you take these fights, you get chipped down to 20 HP, it's gone a little bit awry, but you got the kill, then you can transfer back into cache full health. So that's something that Skopos has that really no other operator really even has the potential of doing. Lead in towards pit. This is a very common play. We see this a lot from Bleed. A lot of the times it's more so employed to stop, say, a Montang, slow push up the stairs. He's going to go for it anyway, expecting pressure to come towards Rafter.
Oh, the C4 is red, though, and it misses, and now Shed should be able to get a free kill. No, Leader wins the fight. Never should he be winning that fight. Hobbins in an awkward spot is finally taken down, and in a way, Elevate have won that exchange. Leader is now far off site, but getting that kill when he really shouldn't have is worth its weight in gold. Now Reaps looks to overpeak. Same for Mentalist. Bleed know they are losing this round. They need to make some kind of a desperate play, but there is no way that Mentalist gets check here. He should be lost in this position. MC flashes him, and he checks the angle. All up to Reaps and Leader now. Leader now falling back to site. Goes for the vertical plant on Island, gets it. Someone has to flood in and change this plant position. A 1v3 now made possible in this 1v2. Looking to isolate ones. He's got some info. No C4 to speak of, though. NHiCal looking to cover. Speakeasy can get out the breach and look to play this post plant well, but it's all on Speakeasy now.
Well, he's trying to stick a long arm around the doorway here and hope that if Speakeasy gets on the rappel, he's not going to be able to see him straight away.
Oh, Leader!
Oh my
That's
God.
Unbelievable!
I need his POV. I need his POV, James. That was exquisite. I thought he was going to stick it. Even on the rappel as Speakeasy's going up, you could see in the bottom right that it was still being stuck by Leader. And as we flipped from the observation perspective, he's just dead.
That is unreal, man. Incredible play from Leader. Like, that round was won by Elevate. They played it well, and I don't even blame the two Bleed players on site for getting quite aggressive there. Elevate locked them out. A massive credit to MC, by the way. Like, I thought for sure, I think it was Mentalist, the aggressive player in CC. I thought he'd won that round by sitting in that off angle. So massive credit to Elevate for checking. But simply Leader just clutched the round. Like, even the first fight, like, Leader shouldn't have won that from Oil Pit. He was unfavored in that fight. He was unfavored in pretty much every other fight that he won in this 1v3. Unreal.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably a world in which NHKL can play behind the server rack or even jump in towards rafters, James, but he makes the contact. He wants to try and take the fight early. Yeah, that's an incredible shot. That is a very difficult shot. He makes the right play. Couldn't obviously quite get around the corner entirely, and a simple shift on the rappel is going to expose him. So he understands that, and Leader's having an amazing stage so far. I mean, I think that round in particular, Lead again looks the team in control. You think about the play over towards Pit, turn, open and kill. So like all these kind of like little engagements going their way from open and kill, garage control. There's like 30 seconds left in the round and they're still pushing in rafters. They got a little bit fortunate, Elevate towards the end. Like Reeves got caught top red in the hallway, not really engaging in a proper position, and then flamed out, and they got the really good kill onto Mentalist. So I think, you know, that's a ballsy play. Don't get it twisted. Like it can work. You know, that is, as you kind of thought he wasn't going to get checked, and I kind of agreed with you. I thought that's going to be a classic rush in, sights clear. You got the player on the rappel, watching the breach. We're not going to check Mentalist there because we don't think he's there. But the flash check, beautiful play from MC. That was the first point in the round that Elevate actually took some semblance of control, and then Leader down below denies the plant. Amazing play at top, and look, 3-0 into attack timeout, and suddenly for Elevate, they're on the ropes here already, and in a bit of a big match build up yesterday. Both teams undefeated, 5-0, 5-0, and I think Bleed just really showing they're still that level above.
From winning 2 rounds quite convincingly on defense to winning the third one from a 4K 1v3. Yeah, that's tells you everything you need to know. Elevate have a chance to get back into it, but yeah, they're going to need to realistically win 2 and ideally 3 of these rounds. Coming up next, Bleed are a very good team at attacking here on Clubhouse, and Elevate are going to be kicking themselves about that last round. They know they're capable of winning 3 or more rounds on this half. Bleed have a lot of depth here on their defense as well. Like quite a different strat immediately. We're seeing a couple of operators changed on out. We're seeing the Castle Mira combo to really create some power positions on that site, burn more time. The Goyo in the smoke also burning time. They know that the Ying's been picked here by Elevate a couple of times now, and they're going to bring the Warden to counter it. I mean, Bleed are just so good at quickly understanding the win conditions and bringing the right tools for the job.
Yep. Yeah, they play as a very conditional team, and everyone's got their role. That was kind of the question I posed to Turd yesterday in their win. You know, essentially the dynamic of their roles and everyone kind of locking in for the stage to just better what your role is, what you need to do, what is expected of you. You know, and he gave us some insight, you know, Julia and the team basically saying, we need you to improve your operator pool. And we've somewhat seen that. Talk about increasing your pool. When you're able to maybe play something like the Scopos, newest operator, you know, now he's playing Mira. He can play these rafters positions, anchor positions.
They're trading out players. By the way, that's so genius. As soon as he gets down to below 50 HP, they just switch players. Like, Bleed are intending to contest the vert here from that Mira position. It's part of their strat from the get-go. You lose a bit of HP, that's fine. Go and trade it. Hoven can play that with 110.
Yeah, what's interesting though is they do keep it open. So, I mean, clearly for Elevate, they have to keep poking and prodding towards triple. There's the drone, anyone playing the Mirror. 45 seconds. They've done some work towards kitchen, so you've got some of the vert established, but it's looking likely it's going to be just main stairs focus for this push by Elevate. They've lacked in terms of presence around the map, though. Are they going to drop Moto into main? Where's the blue pressure? Where's the dirt pressure? It doesn't seem to be enough of it right now for Elevate on the push.
Bleed are very much stacked in church at the moment. Last info they had, Hoven was not in this corner. They need to make sure that they check for it. Are they going to go for an Arsenal execute? It seems like maybe they will. As Shed starts to get that plant down. A big flank here opportunity, but Hoven goes down. Plant has been denied, however. And someone needs to replace Shed for that plant. But Bleed, they are falling. All up to Leader and Reaps. Low HP, but no opportunity to plant. They deny the entry. They deny that diffuser from getting re-picked up. Very tight round there for Elevate, but Bleed just get away with it again.
It's becoming a bit of a trend now. I think, it's a 4-0 scoreline, certainly, but there have been a couple of these rounds, even going back to like the gym bedroom when Shed got a double kill, brought the round back late despite a poor start. We saw it in the previous round as well. Cash and CCTV now back down in towards basement. So that's 3 rounds out of the 4 off the top of my head that these have actually been somewhat close. But despite the closeness, James, you can clearly tell Bleed have, and you said it kind of after the opening round, they've been the team in control. They're kind of setting the tempo, they're dictating what's happening inside of the server. So that little battle towards triple and swapping players out and playing the window, they are the ones that are basically saying, you've got to do what we want you to do. You got to play the way we want you to play. We're going to force you down main. We're going to force you to play Moto, and we're going to make sure Arsenal's locked down. We're going to play a dirt, back of sight's clear. You can't clear us out, and it's going to be absolutely hell when you then have to push into sight with 20 seconds left. Good luck clearing all of us. So, look, they did an okay job. It's scrappy. They get a couple of kills. It's somewhat close, but Bleed are always in control. 4-0. And all it takes now, 2 rounds to go in this half, is some very dominant rounds. Elevate's already used their tactical timeout, and this could get really ugly on the scoreboard.
Bleed they have such good setups. Well, everyone talked about the leader pickup. Not many people are talking about Lenda, who joined from Brazil as an analyst for this roster. Bleed have such good setups. Like, that Warden playing at AKs with the shield protecting him from blue, it's so difficult to kill, so difficult to flush out. And he can continue peeking through smoke, even through gas from the smoke, and deny that plant. He was instrumental. There was no utility from Elevate brought specifically to deal with that shield. No Flores, no specific nade tossed out to clear that position. And when Elevate don't bring the exact right material to deal with this Bleed push, it's nigh impossible to crack it open. Bleed, not only do they prep well, they practice well, and they have incredibly talented players that can come up big when needed. They've got the perfect recipe, and in the form that we're seeing in this match right now, I'll tell you what, Bleed would be beating top 4 teams from other regions, from the major regions. That's how good they're looking against Elevate right here.
I mean, I don't know if I go that far. I think sometimes we get a little bit sucked in by these local performances, and certainly Bleed are, of course, very good internationally and can beat your more middle of the pack EU or NA teams. I don't know about top 4 just yet.
I mean, they beat FaZe at EWC.
Yeah, they can certainly, definitely do well.
EWC, Wolves looking like one of the top 4 in Europe for sure.
At the end of the day for Bleed, the step is, though, before you're talking about top 4, it's really, can you make top 4 in general, right? Like the generalized, go past the quarterfinal. Can you make a semifinal? That's kind of where they're at. So, I guess in some ways, to do that, you're probably beating top 4 teams. Opening kill for Reaps onto Ape, 1 traded back, though, and again, another scrappy round, somewhat similar to the final stages of the previous one. Shed just gone for the plant, why not? Try and just see if you can get in, get some space. They haven't quite spotted you out yet. Not denying in towards bedroom. Reaps just checking top main. Successful plant. Please still got the numbers, though.
Turd could transfer into sight. Why isn't he doing it? Is it because they're staring straight at him? He's found another big pick. It's all up to NHiCal now.
Attackers need to protect him.
And all they have to do is refrag this one out. Turdster's on him.
It's completely
And
vulnerable.
another retake there. It's another big retake there for Bleed. I mean, they're just untouchable here in this game. 5-0. Elevate were meant to be the contenders, but this is no contest.
Yeah, so the gym jacuzzi side of the map was hot. You couldn't transfer back there if you said you're just going to lose your life. You also have to remember as well, in terms of the ability to transfer, you can watch that cam, James, so you can clearly see, unless it's been broken, but you can watch it and see if it's going to be somewhat safe. But at the end of the day, if they've walked in, they've planted from that side of the map. It's not a safe transfer in that instance. NHiCal outside bathroom watching in towards bedroom. Turd makes the right play. He doesn't rush back to site either, and therefore he catches the play outside the con window. An incredibly, calculated round from Turd. And I think that's going to be probably a very minute skill element, but I think a skill element in general, James, is when to transfer and when not to transfer, and is it safe, is it not safe, the team communication behind it. I think Skopos has got certainly some layers and certainly a ceiling that we're going to see these pro players continue to kind of play around with.
As you mentioned, because that inactive shell can be viewed as a camera, there are several dead Bleed players that can look at it and say, hey, we still know that NHiCal is outside the breach. That means there's only one in bedroom. It's a 2v2. You can fight that guy there, just don't expose yourself to breach. So even the inactive shell still has value as a gadget from the dead teammates. I'm really liking this usage of Skopos here from Bleed, because they're not forcing it.
5 seconds
They're just
left.
using it. They're just utilizing it where it has its strengths, and where you don't need to overcomplicate things, they just treat it like any other operator. And it's exactly how you need to use these new operators, bring them into the pool. 5-0 start for Bleed on defense. And, I mean, this is not a particularly defender-sided operator ban phase. This is not a particularly defender-sided map. This is a map where I expect that either team on attack would expect to and hope for a 3-3 or better. And this pretty much does spell Elevate's demise now. Gradually, as the game has gone on, they have looked more and more shaky, less and less confident. But can you blame them? They're going up against an absolute beast of a team here in Bleed.
Bomb has been located.
That's a massive impact trick as well. Thankfully, there is enough of a breach to vault in here for Elevate, but still just so many little details successful for Bleed.
Going back to the pre-show discussion for this match as well, you know, when Rob kind of asked about whether or not Bleed, you know, if they lose this, doesn't matter, yada, yada, yada. Well, inverse, I still don't actually even think this result right now for Elevate is going to necessarily dent any kind of campaign in towards playoffs. By the time these two teams would meet again, we're talking grand final. We're talking a bit of time from now. Not a whole lot, but certainly enough that you can go back, VOD review, check this game out. But I think right now, Elevate, we will not see Clubhouse in any kind of grand final matchup against Bleed, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head there. And I hate to say it, but there is every chance that Elevate let Clubhouse through because they didn't want to play Clubhouse in a match that was defining. Because it's very likely we will see these two teams in the grand final in competing for that spot at the major. They are locked in 1 and 2, which means they will be on opposite sides of the bracket. Elevate may have to fight pretty hard to get to that grand final. We've seen in the past they can struggle against teams, typically Fury, maybe not in their current form, but you never know. Fury can be a very good BO3 team when we hit those playoffs. But I expect Elevate tossing out a Clubhouse here. Hopefully this is not a map that they were actually banking on beating Bleed on when it comes to a major match. They'll probably go to something like a Skyscraper if we get to it.
Very slow pace here. There's only 35 seconds left, so someone's going to have to start doing something for Elevate. Couple still in the exterior, only into what's stock. Con, I mean, they're all split, set up again. Really nice defensively. Bleed, Elevate are going to have to just hit multiple avenues and hope that you can win your ones.
Zofia concussion comes out on the Thursday. He seems pretty unfazed by it.
15 seconds remaining.
Classic Thursday here playing a Doc. And Speakeasy team kills.
10 seconds remaining.
Unfortunate. Elevate now need to pick up the pieces. 1v3 for poor Ape, and he's not going to find a damn thing. Diffuser down on the ground. A crossfire to fight through. He finds Mentalist, and that's just a consolation exit frag. Bleed completely untouchable. I mean, this game is nigh over. 6 rounds straight for Bleed. And Elevate, I think it's one of those moments where you got to laugh or you cry.
Yeah, it's just one of those moments, you know, there's what, 15, 20 seconds left in the round, you're hitting sight, and one swings in from the cash doorway, the other one from the con wall, and Speakeasy just lines up NHyKel because he's taking the fight with Turd towards Rafter, and instead just team kills his teammate. Little exchange early on, and then it really did slow down. You can see that first kill, minute 44, the next one, 14 seconds, and that's probably just not good enough for Elevate. They needed to try and put a bit more pressure. Like, it's cash and CCTV, guys. You can certainly just, you know, poke and prod a little bit better here, play a bit more on the vert, see if you can push them off server rack, and a very disappointing half from Elevate, and for what's been a very disappointing game. Speakeasy 1 and 6, NHyKel 2 and 6. It feels like they typically are the, you know, the back end engine for this roster. When Elevate's playing well, those two are franking out, and they just haven't really been able to play well in this match.
So how many rounds Elevate find here on defense? I honestly don't know. I would not be surprised if this is a 7-0. I wouldn't be surprised if Elevate get a little momentum here and end 7-3 or something like that, but I don't know about you, Jake, but I'm starting to feel a bit of Bloomsday. I feel like this is 7-0, 7-1 kind of territory for Elevate.
Yeah, potentially. I think Bleed's the kind of team that should be more than capable of finding, you know, the 1 to 3 rounds, I'd say. You know, it is, of course, defense club. I say 1 to 3 mainly because by the time we then get around to, say, you know, cash and CCTV as the tertiary, you would imagine that's when Bleed should be closing things out. But they do get 2 free opportunities. in the sense of basement and the primary upstairs as well, and gym bedroom. Or then that third round where the pressure would be on a little bit. But Elevate though, it really is difficult for us to process and understand, quite fully if this is just a throwaway game for them. If Clubhouse as a map is not something they were ever even prepared to play in the grand final. I know we talk about saving strats, and I'm not necessarily implying that in this game of Clubhouse that Elevate a saving strat, but it just could be quite literally a throwaway map where it's like we're never going to play them on this map. We don't care. We win, we lose. It doesn't really matter to us because we're also locked in top 2. It's just a reality. Kind of have to just bring it up as a factor.
Oh, look at this from Reaps. He's just going to hot drop straight on down with the tin can opener. He's in. And I don't think they know about it. The sound would have been completely masked. No one knows. And Reaps is just going to sit here. I like that he's not pushing. He's just going to wait. If he moves too far forward, he may be heard. He may be spotted on a bulletproof camera. Just needs to be careful not to lose his life for nothing. He should be worth so much here. He waits for it could be Logic Bomb to go out. Free kill, and Speakeasy says, hang on a second, guys. Reaps is in the bomb site. How on earth did that happen? Big 2 kills here for Reaps. As the defenders look to flood back to side, he should be good for another one here. A shoulder peek is the right move for Shed. Oh my god. It's just Reaps farming the whole game. Turnster comes in to lock it in for Bleed. Completely indomitable. 7-0. These guys are well and truly kings of this region.
Yeah, I mean, just the controlled nature of that round from Reaps is so evident. Just the discipline to not, start running around immediately, doesn't panic, even though he doesn't get spotted there on the drop, and waits for the Logic Bomb and then plays off it really, really nicely. Rob, I don't think we expected this result in terms of the scoreboard. Bleed winning is obviously not a surprise, but 7-0, not ideal for Elevate.
No, not at all. I mean, it's, I know that you were talking a lot about in the game, doesn't matter either way if they win or lose. I think this is a statement. I think that this is a statement match from Bleed, and that's something that you can't underestimate, especially going into playoffs, because now, obviously, as we head into playoffs, the question is, who the hell touches Bleed? And then the question is, how much of a fire does this put under the belly of Elevate Dev? Because coming into this, obviously they would know they're not the favorite in this, but they still would have felt somewhat comfortable to push this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a failure from Elevate, hands down. Losing to Bleed is one thing. Losing 7-0 to Bleed is another thing. Getting 1v3'd by Leader, losing rounds where they have a clear advantage, that's a red flag. Having so many rounds where it's so clear that Bleed are just going to win it from the get-go is also a red flag. Like, Elevate, Bleed were just completely in their heads today. And we saw that in the last round. The hot drop from Reaps, the patience, the 3k to round it out. It's just, I mean, this was just a massacre.
That's actually a really good point. I mean, does it kind of sum it up a little bit, Xenox? Does it sum up the performance when you see Reaps drop into sight on top of a tin can opener and then just absolutely demolish a 3-4 piece? Or is it not giving enough credit to Elevate?
I think that there's, elements to it, right, where you can kind of play it that way. It's also just kind of like one set, portion of an entire game. 7 rounds were still played out. I think there was also a lot of moments in that opening half in which the rounds were somewhat close. I think said it best, though, during that first half especially, is that even though they were kind of close at times, Bleed were always the team that was just a step ahead outside of that one post play in Cash and CCTV where Leader hit an insane headshot. So, is 7-0 an apt scoreline? I can't certainly debate that, but I think if it wasn't to be a 7-0, a 7-1, 7-2 would have been the more likely scoreline anyway. We're not sitting here thinking that Elevate should have won more rounds than they did. They've got to certainly go back to the drawing board. If they gave their all, if this is a game where they felt like they could beat and best Bleed on club, then certainly some concerns. In some ways, Rob, I actually hope it was just a case of a throwaway map that they were never going to play in a potential grand final, and they're not faced by this.
Yeah, when you look at it, Dev, this is really a calling card, I think, to the rest of the league. To maybe even, I know you were mentioning in there a lot of international, potential performances for Bleed in the future and of the past as well. I mean, this is a huge calling card. The only team in the region right now that is within touching distance of them, at least from what we've seen, and that's what they do to them. I mean, there's no bigger statement that needs to be made.
Very much so. And I guess it's just a message to all the other teams out there. What you guys really need to do is pick up a world championship coach, pick up an analyst from a major region, and pick up an IGL and Insane Fragger that's had experience playing in multiple regions as well. I mean, just do that. I don't know why everyone isn't doing it.
Yeah, that's pretty simple. That's a pretty simple way to go. And unfortunately, Xenox, I mean, when we're going to look at the end of the stage and we're going to start looking at the leaderboard, it's going to show such a clear discrepancy, especially with a 7-0 win. And I just got comms of who's coming into the chat. It's probably, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but we welcome Turd after a 7-0. There is no doubt going to be some kind words said. Turd, I left a bit speechless, mate. This game we had expected to be probably your closest competition yet, and it turned out to be anything maybe the furthest from the most competitive game we've seen you in.
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, I thought that would be a hard game too. I thought they'd at least get one round, but well, clearly not. These guys have just flown across the world to win absolutely 0 rounds. That is amazing.
Hey, Turd, I wanted to ask you a question, but before that, I just noticed you tweeted. Can you read, what does that tweet say?
I don't know if I can say it on broadcast. I don't want to get told off. But it
Get
says
one.
GGE's 7XO Elevate. You guys fucking stink, by the way. Oh,
That's that
hashtag
one
go
for the
bleed.
night.
Thanks
I'll take
for that
it out
one.
of my bank. I'll take it out of my bank. That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, so my question was, what did you guys think when you saw Clubhouse on that video? You guys already beat Fury 7-4, you guys smashed Direwolf 7-0, and then Clubhouse again, like, it's, you guys get to save the map, you get to keep saving your other maps for playoffs. Must be a dream come true.
So like they already had 2 info on us, like one from Fury, one from the Direwolves game. So really like recent info. So we were going to the game like thinking they were gonna hard counter us, you know, a lot of counter strats and yeah, stuff like that. But it honestly looks like they didn't do their homework, or maybe their homework just sucked because like all the stuff they were doing just wasn't working, and yeah, we're just outplaying them at every corner really.
I don't
yeah,
really.
we made
I
like.
don't- Oh, sorry. I thought you were
Go
done.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
Are you done? Are you all good? Sorry,
No, I'm good.
Okay, good.
No, I'm good.
There's not much to really ask in terms of the actual game, but I do want to ask about Scopos, of course, just making its way in from the very mini quarantine, and we saw you playing it in this game, and I think the generalized feeling regarding the operator is a lot of players are kind of looking at it as like basement, and then you can kind of roam top floor and then transfer back to basement on certain maps. But you weren't kind of playing it that way. You were playing it around like rafters, for example. At times you saw the shell left over in towards like bathroom. Could you just give us some insight into sort of like, I guess, considering you were the one playing it, but maybe even also the team aspect, sort of regarding the operator?
So I think like the most obvious use for it is like you said, like a basement roam. You know, you're on the 2nd floor. If they're rushing site, you TP back to site. I think I wanted to experiment more with like playing it in death spots. So like, some death spots could be like chalet blue stairs or garage rafters, like I just played bank and the front desk. I wanted to experiment like playing in death spots and see if I could get out of those death spots and even maybe like teleport back in after the Uzi Uto. But I'm still like experimenting with it and finding new stuff to do. I was just having a bit of fun today, really, because the Army was banned.
Oh, that's good fun. Obviously, we're heading into playoffs very soon, Turd. I'm going to ask a really, really simple question here. It doesn't get easier than this. How confident are you feeling heading to Montreal?
Another flawless league stage, but I don't know. We have to see where we verse in the playoffs, because I think as it stands now, we're probably going to verse Fury and then Elevate again. So 2 actually relatively hard matches, especially in a BO3. Usually we only verse like Fury in the grand final and verse like some interesting team in the first round. But this time we actually have to go through 2 hard teams, so that might change it up a bit. Didn't expect Fury to go down to 5th place or even 4th, really.
Do you still think Fury's a hard
Yeah.
team?
I still think so. I don't really know what's gotten into them lately, but I think they'll find their form again in the playoffs, especially in BO3 format. I still have a lot of faith in those guys.
That's scary. That's probably not something that.
It's probably the nicest
most
thing
of
you've
us-
ever said, Turd.
You beat me to it. I don't think we've ever seen you say that with such conviction either. Turd, obviously, we'll wrap up here, but do you have anything you'd like to say before we let you go?
Yeah, thanks to the fans, the haters again, always good. Arcanic Truth on Reddit, that guy's a legend. And thank you to Shed.Elevate for doing absolutely nothing every round of this game. Free win. Thank you. All right, bye-bye, guys.
Thanks,
Ciao,
Ted.
mate. Keep it short and sweet. I think probably the most interesting part about, obviously, it was actually quite humble in that conversation. More so for me, Dev, the transition between the question of, you know, Scopos, all that kind of stuff, into what are we expecting for playoffs, and he's not out there being ultra confident, and it's Turd we're talking to. He's still giving a lot of props, a lot of respect to Fury.
Yeah, I think it's quite clear now that Turd's villain persona is a majority a persona. Like, he's not actually thinking those things. Like, when he's throwing all this shade at Elevate, he knows and he respects them as a good team. He's just getting in their heads, and it really does work. And especially the Fury comment, I think it does just remind everyone that Fury is an incredibly good team, and BO1s and BO3s are very different conversations. And also, if we see Fury really struggle for a couple of games, that's just a wake-up call that they need to hopefully get in shape, because we know exactly what Fury is capable of. Fury have the potential to be a team that goes to international events and takes maps off of teams from major regions. Like, that is what everyone knows is they are capable of. They haven't been doing that recently, and I think it's smart from Turd, not just humble, but actually smart, to have his expectations set at a humble level, because if he disrespects Elevate and Fury, then he's going to end up slipping up to them, and that's something that I think Bleed know very well. They're a very smart team.
Certainly are. So I see a slight smirk there.
Well, mainly his comment about poor old Arcanic Truth, of course, for those in the R16, you all know, for our lovely favorite Redditor, but he made a thread earlier today about how Elevate were going to upset Bleed's 25-1 domestic best of 1 record. He got the map wrong, he got the result wrong, he got the scoreline wrong, and Turd just gave him a little bit of a shout out. So poor Arcanic Truth, bad luck maybe next time. But it was good insight from Turd. Loved the way, of course, he was able to sort of, you know, answer his thought process about Scopos. I think, James, I mentioned it a little bit in that game. Like, you know, you play in this kind of aggressive position, and the beauty of then the Scopos is you can kind of transfer back to the other shell if it doesn't quite work out. And I think even the added element of what Turd was able to say, you know, kind of force them to like use util, and then I'm just dipping anyway. So, yeah, I think it really good, clear understanding that it's obvious. He got told, prove your operator pool, and he's doing it.
That's probably one of the most important parts. Dev, I think you're only on 2 tonight, mate. I think it's almost time for
How did that happen?
I know. Do you have any final thoughts before we let you go?
Just that, I mean, a massive disappointment. That was meant to be the game of the night, meant to be game of the stage. Elevate, every now and then this happens to them. It happened last stage against Fury. They didn't get a single round, and I don't know what it is with that team, but it's something they need to work on. I think Elevate maybe where Bleed was at a year ago. Bleed went through a massive restructure, and it took them a while to get to where they are now. It took them actually a lot longer than everybody expected. They failed to make the major in Copenhagen, of course. But Elevate, I think they'll get there eventually. I just really hope that we have a well-contested playoffs, and I think that Turd giving some respect to both Fury and Elevate gives me hope for that.
Yeah, it does. It kind of alludes to a potential storyline as we head into playoffs. But speaking about storylines, this is one you don't want to miss. Knock Knock, get this, could jump over Fury in the standings. They go head-to-head after this.